So I'm quite ill today, but I feel better now. So I wanted to say something about a particular aspect of the path, the pathless path, in that it's very common that someone may say to you, you know, you're already awake, you're already enlightened, which is really true. You know, that there's nothing in your experience that doesn't prove to you that you're there. In fact, everything's here that you need. There's no you here already, all these things. And I used to listen to this and then kind of, yeah, I guess I agree, there's nothing to do. Everything's here. And if you just take it as a kind of theory or a question or like that, it's not true liberation, because it's not seen. It's not seen with your whole being that right here, right now, there's nothing that's required. No more of anything, of any kind of addition to what's in this present moment. And I'd say to that, if you're struggling with seeing this truth, that there's still a seeking to become more happy, more peaceful, if I practice enough, then I'd say, in your experience right now, let's find evidence that something needs to change. Let's find evidence that something is not right, that you're not enlightened, or that you're limited to this body. That we can take it down a step as well and just think, well, is there any evidence for any kind of limitation here? If we actually look in eyesight, even though something might be blurry, it goes on forever. The awareness, are we trapped in the body? But we're aware of so much that we don't actually think about. Even in thoughts, there's no boundary to thoughts. There's no boundary to the sense of I. Where does the I end? This limitation, we feel we're right enclosed in this little meat sack, the skin, the bones, the meat. We think we're inside, only because we were taught it in a science book and conditioned through parents and everyone, and it's no one's fault, but it's just a belief. So looking for evidence in experience is so potent and it's so powerful. Not just an inquiry of self, which is where does the I end. I mean, this brings you to unity consciousness. This brings you to, or it comes to you rather than you go and get it. So now let's go to enlightenment. What do I think I'm going to get? What's going to change in experience? This is why I love the teaching, that people say, you're miserable before enlightenment and you're miserable after enlightenment. And as true or false as that may be, it's just good at taking away any kind of expectation that you're going to become happier or blissed out and all these things. And it's so sobering, which gives way to this peace that I don't need to be perfect at all times. I don't need to be happy at all times. That belongs to the relative world. It's just that there's now no preference in whatever form it takes. So let's say sensations that were once resisted come up. They're not resisted anymore because there's no story in them. There's no more beliefs that what's good and bad, because what you are is beyond both. And yet so intimately with that, there's no character to blame or judge sensations or feelings or situations. So back to it, the evidence that anything needs to change. You may say, let's go to it and do it really. Let's say it is something needs to change in the body. I feel contracted. Okay. Could it be that it's the judgment that something needs to change that is the problem, and not the sensation in the body, not the feeling of self, not the feeling of contraction? Because all self is a should or a shouldn't. Self is resistance. The I is, I want it. The mind is, I want this to be a certain way. So a really deep insight is that there is literally nothing wrong in experience except from the judgment. And even that is fine. Because if you were to then judge judgment, resist resistance, it's just another layer. It becomes a bit paradoxical, but once everything is allowed to be as it is, not because you're allowing it, but because it just is, It just is. It is. There's no way this could be any different. Then you see nothing needs to change. And the paradox is, there is a change, but it's in perspective. There's a shift in how you respond and your relationship with life, with this moment. There's no evidence here that anything needs to change. Look at the colours, the sounds, the sensations in the body. It just is. And it would take a lot of naivety, and there's a lot of almost not trusting the universe. Because to think that something should be another way is it's basically saying, I have a mind of my own that thinks things should be other than they are. And if you want to go even closer to truth, even deeper, it's not even that you accept everything, it's just that there's no you to have any kind of will to change anything. There's no personal will there, not because you don't have personal will, because the you doesn't exist to have any kind of will other than God's will, universal will, just goes through you. I've rambled quite a lot there, but I just hope it shows you that everything just is. There's nothing that needs to change here, just a perspective change, a shift in identifying with this person that needs to get somewhere else other than right now. Could you be content with just this moment? Because there's never going to be a future moment where everything falls into place. It's never arriving. It's endless.